Alright, so I found this video called "Do Trans Athletes Have an Unfair Advantage?" Now, this is a very hot button issue right now, and I want to say before we talk about this, if you know that you can't dive into watching these topics without having sort of like a visceral, emotional attachment to it, and it like genuinely upsets you when somebody says something on this topic that you disagree with, this isn't going to be the video for you. Maybe go and watch one of my videos where I defend Mr. Beast from cancel culture. But with that out of the way, I want to highlight first of all how the question posed in the title is a little bit different than the main question that I normally see asked about this topic. The one that I mainly see being asked about this topic is, should biological men compete in women's sports? Now, obviously, I have my own opinion on that. I think in general, it would probably be best to give these transgenders and whatever their own division when it comes to sports competition, because they're on hormones. There's different sorts of substances in their blood flow that these, normal athletes, the cisgender athletes, they just don't have that. So I think it would be good to put all them in their own separate category. But this video isn't even asking that question. This one is simply asking, do trans athletes have an unfair advantage? Now, I'm thinking about the biological men that compete in women's sports, and like, if you don't think that there is an advantage there, you're just being silly. I saw an article a while ago about a powerlifter, a biological male powerlifter, that competed in some sort of lifting event in Tokyo and absolutely smoked his competition like pack. It wasn't even close at all. All the actual women, the cisgender women with female anatomy and biology, yeah, they lost pretty badly by like a noticeable margin. And what, we're supposed to not bat an eye at that? We can't ask why or notice why that may have occurred. We can't say, yeah, this guy has throbbing biceps 3 times larger than any other woman in this competition. There's also a bulge in her pants and growing facial hair on her face. There's probably nothing different about this one than the other ones. It's like, is that really what we're gonna start doing? We're just gonna start ignoring biological reality? I don't know, and I think the only way to answer that question is to watch this video. But before we do, if you could take the 5 seconds that I would take to leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. At 400,000 subscribers, I will be doing my face reveal. So yeah, subscribe and let's get into this.
What is a woman?
Okay, not even 1 second into this. Dude asks, what is a woman? My question, what is this? What am I looking at? You guys know that Pokemon that got canceled for blackface? Oh my god. Someone tell me I'm wrong though. Also, I mean, come on, the elephant in the room could not be more clear. I mean, these just have to go. These are just too big. It could just be a skin suit though, so.
A woman is
having a vagina. Actually no.
Yeah, actually no. Women, you don't need a vagina anymore to be a woman. You can actually have a 9-foot pole in between your legs, the blade of Olympus in between your legs. And yeah, I mean, that could mean you're a woman.
Whatever you want to think as a woman.
there's trans men who are now capable of giving birth.
Does questioning make you transphobic?
I'm homophobic, I'm transphobic.
Like, why are you asking these questions right now type thing?
So today I asked about trans athletes. Challenge each person with questions the other side may ask. So let's see what they have to say. Should trans athletes compete against biological women?
People think that they're gonna beat them, then they're probably not the best for that competition.
What on earth was that argument? This he/she/they, I don't even know, just said that if you think you're gonna lose to a biological man as a woman in women's sports, well, yeah, I mean, maybe you should just drop out. You shouldn't even compete. This logic can literally be applied to a 7-year-old who is taking Taekwondo lessons and telling that kid that he shouldn't compete in Taekwondo because if he was matched up against Jackie Chan, he would lose. It's like, yeah, maybe you're just not good enough to compete. You know, you would lose to Jackie Chan, so is it even worth it? It's like, what the hell are you even talking about?
That's like saying like there's like 10 bears that are all fighting each other, and then it's like, wait, let's bring in this one T-Rex and then let's add that in and let's see how that kind of goes. And what happens is the T-Rex just destroys them.
So trans people are T-Rexes?
I mean, you can say that.
Yeah, I mean, this dude's analogy is spot on.
Women's sports is pretty self-descriptive. Women compete against women.
No matter how many surgery, a woman's body is a woman's body. You can't really change that.
You get on hormone therapy, it does change the hormones within your bodies.
Okay, hold on. We're not just gonna brush past that. This one right here literally just sat on the mic and said, When you take hormones, you're taking hormones. Like, you're not arguing anything. Being on hormone therapy changes your hormone composition. Okay, obviously. You just did the real life equivalent of, in Africa, every 60 seconds is a minute. Like, yes, when you take hormones, you're taking hormones. That doesn't mean anything. You haven't changed your fundamental biological composition.
It does change the hormones within your bodies.
If they're classified as females, they should be able to compete against females. What do I actually think?
Yeah.
I think women should compete against women, and transgenders should compete against transgenders.
Okay. Why do you believe that?
I got my own problems.
I was in the military. Was it fair for a male to do the female PT test?
The woman's PT, like a lower standard?
Significantly lower because a female can only do so much.
I do play men's volleyball, though, collegiately.
But before we continue, I know damn well I'm not the only one confused. I hope you don't mind me asking, but were you born a biological male?
I'm non-binary, so I can be female as a gender, and my sex can be male.
Whatever feels best for the day.
How about between Monday and Friday?
Monday and Friday, definitely she, her at my job. It just depends.
Yeah, honestly though, at least this one tries to come across as the whole non-binary thing. Look, regardless if you think the non-binary thing is bullshit or not, this one does a pretty good job at making you think and pondering that question. I mean, I see both Demi Lovato and Sid from Toy Story. Now, don't get me wrong, if she's spamming me to say, oh, they, them, then I'm probably not gonna do it because she's being annoying. But I mean, she's trying, right? So, you know, credit for that.
Depends on the vibe.
Depends, yeah. On this channel, we explore the unfamiliar because it's only through genuine conversations that we can change our perspective. But will people be too afraid to speak their truth? And with all the controversy, will I be demonetized or even worse, canceled like Chappelle? Bro, chill. Ain't no one canceling you with your no subscriber head ass. I guess we gon' see. What is a woman then?
Anyone who identifies as such.
It's just somebody who feels comfortable within femininity.
This argument is so dumb, and I hear it so often, I don't get why. These people feel like they've ascended to a IQ comparable to Albert Einstein when they state with a plain face, a straight face, that a woman is a woman. Anyone who identifies as a woman. Imagine if I didn't know what a fridge was, and I asked you to define what a fridge was, and the only thing you told me is that a fridge is a fridge. A fridge is something that can be identified as a fridge. Well, thanks, bud. I have no idea what you're talking about. You have to give me traits or characteristics of that thing that you're describing. You can't just say that thing is that thing. It is so dumb. These people try so hard to reduce very valid biological descriptors and categories down to just societal abstractions because it makes them feel good about themselves because it's like inclusive or whatever. It's like, well, no, actually, what you've done is just confuse everybody and make the English language less effective. If these labels, male and female, are actually just, you know, not useful at all in your opinion and you want to erase them and every person is either a male or a female and they can be both and they can sometimes be one of this, sometimes be the other, then it's just, you're just retarded. I don't know what to say. That's like telling me again for the fridge thing that a stove is also a fridge because we're trying to be inclusive. It's like, okay, well then how do we know the difference between a stove and a fridge? Well, you know, everybody's like different though, so it's like, okay, it's like, all right.
I want to say femininity because it goes beyond that.
I'm more of a logical person, kind of actually take that weird Jordan Peterson type stuff, just believing in yourself, and actually affect that towards like gender.
Maybe let's take like a recent controversial issue like abortion. Heard women say, hey, no one should be making laws about us. In that instance, it seems like a woman is someone who is able to have a baby. Does that constitute a woman, or would you still stick with your definition?
A uterus wouldn't like make you a woman. I feel like there's so many other parts that are so much more important than just that.
Vagina considers a woman, but if you have like the long hair, if you have the nails.
So I think those are pretty big differences, right? Because I could put on nails and hair, but if I identified as a woman, would that make me a woman?
Yeah.
What an actual psychopath. How do you live in this utter delusion? You're telling me, lady, that if this guy claimed to have the identical genetic makeup as you do as a female, that he would actually be that thing regardless of it being false. I mean, give me a fucking break. Now we're just enabling liars. Can I just identify as being 21 years old and I can just waltz into a bar and get a drink without being ID'd because I identify as 21? By this lady's logic, why wouldn't I be able to do that? If you can just fathom yourself into being something that you're not and inviting yourself to be a part of a category that has restrictions without fitting those restrictions and requirements, then why can't I identify as 21? Do I meet the requirements to be 21, such as being alive on this earth for 21 years? I don't. But we're supposed to be inclusive, right? So include me into the 21 category.
Scientific definitions, or is it just the words become true?
No one decides to become a woman. So no one just wakes up and is like, oh, I feel like being a woman. There are tons of thoughts, decisions, and even social repercussions like this entire line of questioning that come with coming out as a woman.
What the is going on? Coming out as a woman? Coming out as a woman, dude. Can I come out as a woman and then come back in as a man? Is that possible? Like, can I just do that? Like, let's say the line is very long on the men's bathroom. Can I impromptu come out as a woman to use the women's restroom and then as I walk out, come back out as a man? Seems like kind of a cheat code, to be honest.
But wouldn't that be kind of ignoring some sort of biological, I don't know, realities?
I think that everybody has their own biological reality, and that's...
Again, this is the same thing where you're not saying anything substantive. Oh, everybody's different. Really? Wow, we got a detective on our hands. You're telling me not every single person is a carbon genetic copy of the next? We're not being made out of a cloning factory? Wow, you've really been around the block. It's like speaking in these broad strokes does not make you sound wise. It's just like a hand wave. You're not answering the question. He's like, are men and women different? Is there a biological reality to sex? And she's like, well, everybody's different. Dude, by this logic, because dogs are genetically different than humans, well, everybody's different, so we should just treat dogs like humans. It's like, dude, what the is going on?
How the world has always worked, but this world is changing every day, and you just gotta keep up with the new time.
Hold on. This person literally just said, well, yeah, biological reality, I don't know about that. All I know is that the world spins and that people are different. Like, wow. So smart, so intelligent.
Identify as straight, and you identify as a male?
Yeah.
So not everybody's gonna follow what your path is, and some people have their own path. And sometimes we just weren't born with that knowledge because we didn't got taught that as children.
Why has it changed over the last few years?
There's trans men who are now capable of giving birth. Whatever makes someone feel better at night and doesn't hurt somebody else, I don't think should matter to anybody.
Okay, so then what will the other side say? Okay, in your mind, do you think there are more than two genders?
Yes. I couldn't identify them all for you, but
I'm an old school, so if I'm growing up, I just know man and woman.
Again, I think I decided that I'm an alien. Do you believe me? And if you don't accept that I'm an alien, then you're wrong. And that just doesn't make logical sense. So you can have your own opinion, your own thoughts, but I think there's one or the other.
Outside of sport, I don't really think it matters.
Here's the main debate, and I think that guy just touched on it. Outside of sport, I don't think it really matters. I think what he's trying to say is in a circumstance where the fact of biology matters, it matters. And he's absolutely right. In a social setting where you're going out to eat with somebody, and they may not identify as the sex they were given at birth or whatever, although they may be biologically the sex, of course, they were given at birth, the treatment should be equal, of course, like socially. But in a situation where the biology does matter, the treatment shouldn't be equal, because the people aren't equal in terms of like what they actually are.
Obviously, both sides have opinions, but do both sides have solutions? What do you think is the solution? Do you think trans athletes should have their own league? Do you think that sports should be gender neutral?
I've seen some females out there that can kick any guy's ass. I mean, look at fucking Ronda Rousey. She could probably take all her asses up at once.
I don't doubt that at all, but do you think she'll be able to take a professional male UFC fight?
Yeah, absolutely not. Give the skilled equivalent of Ronda Rousey as a man, and she's getting smoked. Put Israel Adesanya in the ring with this Ronda Rousey person. It's gonna be a massacre.
Honestly, I feel like you could beat my ass with those, honestly.
Baby, I'll give somebody a black eye with these.
So haram, dude. Get this, just, no, absolutely not.
Women probably think that they're like faster than men, and some men probably think that they do like way better in like a female, or I'm trying to think of one that typically females are in. Ooh, cheerleading.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you could do it without pissing people off.
Should our priority be to not piss people off?
No, because the people that are going to get pissed off are people like the girl from earlier who said this guy could become a woman if he identified as one. We cannot be acting in the real world based on how those people feel. We can't operate society based on how people think and feel like that, who don't acknowledge that men and women have any sort of difference at all, because those people are stupid.
Yeah, that is tricky. I guess you have to choose who you want to piss off. Because then you create more division, right? You say, oh, well, we're going to make this only. But then it does make it inclusive for them if that's what they want to do.
Will there even be enough to form a league?
Not necessarily, but I think if we're going to talk about integration, people of color being integrated into our schools, parks, society, wasn't normalized until we talked about it. So trans is one of those topics right now that we just have to normalize.
Not going to work. 2 or 3 times as hard to try to compete against someone naturally born as a male.
Which does bring up something that no one wants to talk about. Are trans women taking away women's rights? Because it wasn't until 50 years ago when Title IX granted more equal access to women in sports. But today, when a trans woman receives a roster spot, is it denying biological women's opportunities? And if there are biological advantages, more times than not, is it denying opportunities to win?
I think you have to ask that population.
If only I knew someone who was trans and also an athlete.
I think someone who is prepubescent and is on hormones before developing natural testosterone, they're not as strong as me.
So should there be an age cutoff then?
Yes, their estrogen and testosterone levels have.
Dude, instead of doing a fucking science experiment to determine whether or not a transgender person could be at the same level playing field as a biological woman or whatever, just make their own league. Like, instead of trying to balance, like, I don't know, like the pH of the testosterone and the HRT minus the square root of the sex assignment surgery, all to the power of 3 and feminism, it's like, instead of doing all that work to see if a biological man identifying as a woman or whatever is going to be suitable enough to compete against a cisgender woman, how about just make their own league?
Have to be tested before competing.
If I'm gonna be real, I didn't expect that answer. In that even with hormone therapy, when you transition matters. So let's explore further on these advantages.
Do you think that trans women have any sort of advantage against biological women when it comes to sports?
No.
Again, this lady, dude, if this is true, then you should be able to beat me in an arm wrestle, right? You should be able to run faster than me, right? Oh, wait, you can't? Oh, wait, really? Huh, that's so interesting. Well, I don't know why that is. I mean, we're all different, right? I mean, this is so weird.
Train and become professionals in whatever sport that they want to do, and you have the same ability to do that. Some people grow muscle faster than others, and that has nothing to do with your genitals.
In general, do you think men and women have physical differences?
I think there are physical differences across the plane. We have differences.
Oh my god, it's nonstop! Everybody's different.
We're both women. We have differences. We're both women.
Yeah.
There could be biological advantages to it, but at what point is like that measure quantifiable?
A basketball player is scoring 500 points a game.
I would say that would go into more of the skill than rather than just like hormonal like influence.
As long as they're on like the proper treatment with like HRT, I actually think at that point it becomes a disadvantage. I am also on estrogen. Like I lost a lot of that muscle, gained a lot of fatigue.
When I used to play soccer and I felt like it was like better. I felt like I could challenge myself more.
It said that it made you better. Are you saying that men have an advantage over women when it comes to sports?
No, I don't think so. There's like ways in which that men
You literally just, okay, you know.
and women can learn from each other in sports.
I guess, but could that be considered a bit unfair for biological women?
I don't think so.
Do you know who LeBron James is? Yeah. So he's 6'8", 280 pounds. What if he became a trans woman and competed against WNBA players?
Yeah, what would happen then? We're a literal basketball titan and golem, a menace on the court, one of the best of all time. We put that up against the best female player of all time. I mean, let's let the comments decide. Who do you think's taking that W?
That be something that the WNBA players should just get over?
Like she would have an advantage. At the same time, I don't know, I feel like they could figure it out.
They could figure it out. Are you down 100 points in the first quarter to LeBron James? Because as a man, he's taller, stronger, and faster than you? Well, I don't know what we can do about that. You just gotta figure it out.
Probably would be in a league with similarly stacked women. There are 6-foot+ women who weigh a lot, who have a lot of musculature.
Who, if you put them up against LeBron, would have to be placed on suicide watch afterward.
And probably they'd be playing in the same league.
I think it would just depend on the sport.
I guess what would be a sport where it would be an equal playing field?
I don't know, like chess maybe?
Much about it.
I think in swimming it's possible because they're likely to be more muscular.
And it's something that's actually happened. Leah Thomas was a swimmer at UPenn who started her collegiate career competing on the men's swim team. But during Leah's junior year, she started hormone therapy and
transitioned to be happy.
Previously, Leah was ranked 65th in the men's 500-yard freestyle, but as a woman,
Leah Thomas pulling away over the final 150 meters, wins the NCAA championship.
She ranked first after winning the national championship.
Yeah, from 65th to first. I don't know, guys. Seems a little bit suspicious. Seems like hear me out. Maybe biology had something to do with it.
It's controversial to even question this, but sports is competition. So to avoid falling behind, will more programs start exclusively recruiting trans athletes?
You know, complete what I signed up for.
And it's something the World Swimming Organization has noticed. New rules will now only allow athletes who have transitioned before the age of 12 to compete in women's events. So the more controversial topic, the more discussions we need.
It's like I'm a big soccer fan. Same. Like women's soccer and men's soccer becoming competitive to the point where like some of them are like passing the same like records at the same time.
I have to disagree. Well, because I have personal experiences with this. When I was like on a U16 soccer team, we played the Portland Thorns. So they were like the women's champions of that specific year. So they have like Alex Morgan, like a bunch of like these Olympic high level athletes. We killed them 6-1 and we were 15.
A personal experience like that only goes so far. You can have outliers because we're seeing
Wait a second. This guy as a 15-year-old beat a bunch of Olympic female soccer players? That's insane. This guy's goated.
Records and all that.
Against other women.
It is against other women, but we are also seeing those numbers match very closely to male numbers.
But don't you think numbers are always relative, right? Like, let's say if I joined a 8-year-old league, I'm gonna score 1,000 goals, right?
No, but numbers as far as like stuff like goals or like...
Yeah, I guess like what I'm arguing that it is relative though, right? Because you're comparing a woman who is playing against other women's, that record against a man playing against other men, right?
Yeah, exactly. With those numbers becoming closer, that is also a good sign that you're going to move that, like, the bell curve closer and closer together.
In sports that doesn't require as much physical rigor, do you think then trans women should be able to compete against biological women?
I mean, I would say, like, bro, esports and chess and, like, dude, I don't know, power walking, hot dog eating competitions. I mean, what sport isn't physically driven to some extent?
NBA and NBA get paid differently. It's because clearly NBA guys are dunking like crazy. But hey, if a girl is at that level, then sure, like go do it.
How about like maybe like something even more consequential like UFC or MMA? Do you think men and women should be fighting against each other?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Classes could account for that.
What if the biological women think it's unfair but they still have to compete? What about those instances?
I know I would never be trying to fist fight a man.
Why is that?
My opinion doesn't really matter because I'll never be like involved in that stuff. Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize.
If I'm a female and I'm training my ass off every fucking day, there's a guy who doesn't have to train as hard as me. He comes in and he beats me. I'm gonna feel like shit. No.
And if anyone's allowed to voice an opinion, shouldn't it be those in competition? But instead what we're seeing is severe consequences for speaking out.
Because at a certain point, I felt like I had to do something.
Taylor Silverman is a Jewish skater who placed second in 2 different contests to trans women. So fed up, she posted a screenshot of her email to Red Bull, who hosted the contest.
And I knew that people would come after me. I knew that people would come after me for being Jewish.
And what followed was a viral post with tons of comments calling her a transphobe and even some anti-Semitic hate.
The people who are responsible are the contest organizers who allow it to happen, because the reality is all the athletes competing are just going by the rules. Obviously, emailing Red Bull wasn't.
Imagine being mad at her because she's unhappy at the fact that she's getting mismatched. Like, this goes back to my little kid taekwondo example. Imagine if a little kid got his ass beat by a 30-year-old man in a taekwondo competition, and the little kid said, "Hey, I don't like getting my ass beat by this grown man. Can I get put up against other little kids?" And then they called the kid ageist. Like, imagine that. Whoa, dude, you're being really ageist. Like, you know, maybe just get better before you complain. It's like, are you insane?
About it. They did not want to have that conversation at all.
And it's exactly this censorship of discussion that's completely hypocritical to the totem message of tolerance and acceptance. And so it's time to explore further, because we've heard of trans women competing, but why not the reverse?
Why do we never hear instances of trans men competing against biological men, but we've heard a lot of instances of trans women competing against biological women?
I am aware of trans professional male athletes who are successful.
But I haven't heard any in the NBA or soccer.
Well, I think it's because at that point, they're basically, you know, they basically had like the womanhood for most of their life, right? Like, unless you start this stuff at like a super young age, which I would never recommend because it's like child abuse, you're gonna grow up to be, you know, your natural self or your biologically determined self.
Focus on things that are mainstream.
We just don't necessarily get that in the news as often.
But we've been hearing news about trans women competing against
because
biological women.
that's how the news is, like, and that's how like this is. It operates on clicks.
Do you think there are instances?
Like, why are you asking these questions right now, type thing?
I'm trying to get closer to what the answer might be. That's why I'm going this approach, asking questions what the other side may ask you.
It's a slightly different approach, and it's like nice.
And it's because of misogyny.
This is an instance of a biological woman turning into a man competing against men.
Yeah.
Why would there be misogyny involved then?
Because misogyny, because they don't see, like, they're not seeing them as men. Basically.
What are you talking about? Apparently, these biological women that are becoming men, when they lose, it's because the men are misogynist? Oh my god, this just makes no sense at all. Like, if I'm playing basketball with a biological woman who's become a man, and I cross him up, dunk on him, oh, it must be because I hate women? What on earth are you talking about?
Basically, they're not taking them serious.
So hold on, if they're not even taking them seriously, then we're going easy on them and they're still losing.
Reverse, do you think it's just one-sided misogyny, or?
I literally think it's that.
If there's no physiological differences between men and women when it comes to sports, why haven't we heard any instances of that?
Society seems to deem women's sports as needing some sort of assistance. So when they see a trans person competing, they feel as though there's something encroaching on a sport that's already not competing on the same level as men's sports, which is inaccurate. Women's sports are highly competitive, often can compete with men at the same level and win.
What sports?
Like a woman playing against a man tennis player, you can see it being fairly competitive.
And in 1998, Serena and Venus Williams did exactly that. Or tried to. They challenged any professional male player to a match as long as they were outside of the top 200. The challenge was accepted by Karsten Brosch, who was ranked 203rd in the world. And the match was a close one. He beat Serena 6-1 and Venus 6-2.
Is that close? I have no idea. It doesn't sound close.
Difference where the men are a lot faster. I love to play women's tennis, and I only want to play girls because I don't want to be embarrassed.
Oh, is she allowed to say that? Sounds like she can get canceled for that one.
But now it's time to ask the most important question. It is a question that I kept asking myself throughout this video. Does questioning make you transphobic?
No, I'm just talking my honest truth. I would be lying to my...
Based. This guy gets it. Isn't that my channel about? Just trying to speak my mind, speak the truth, figure out what's going on. True, I'm just here to, figure out what's going on in this world. People are like, oh, you're being hateful or whatever. It's like, no, dude, I'm just trying to ask questions. I mean, this shit's always changing. This seems like it makes a lot of sense. Like, this seems like a fair question. We're trying to answer the question honestly.
I think questioning is fine because it allows to explore the curiosity and become much more understanding. I think once you make a judgment towards it, that's when like the phobia comes in.
Well, I know I'm phobic. I'm homophobic, I'm transphobic. If it ain't female, don't come at me with that crazy shit.
Comes to sports, got to be black and white and universal. I'm sure a lot of people won't agree with that.
Do you think we're prioritizing too much of not pissing people off?
That has changed a lot of the ways that people are accepted.
Okay, yeah, anyways, we're pretty far into the video. I think you guys get the gist. Hopefully you understand my position on this all. Comment down toaster if you made it to the end of the video. Follow my social medias, links are all down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.